We have an egg! The very first one is broken, but we have an egg! Who laid the egg? Who laid the egg? Which one of you laid the egg? Good job, mamas. Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. We have an egg! Very exciting. I don't know whose egg that was, and they didn't lay it in the coop, but that's okay. They're learning. I actually came in here to give you all an update on the chickens, a sad update. We actually lost one of our girls a couple weeks ago. I came in here and I found Maisie, and she had passed away, and I didn't want to say anything because I was so afraid it was going to be one of those diseases that pass through the coop very quickly. So I was watching these girls, Hazel and Princess Fluffy Butt, very closely, and it looks like they're okay, knock on wood. They laid an egg today, so I was planning to come in here and you know, say sad news, but luckily we have a little bit of good news as well. So I've talked to a couple chicken people about what happened to Maisie, and they think it's probably just something like congenital or something like that. They said, you know, a lot of people have told me that it just kind of just happens. Just really sad, really sad. I loved her. So, but the other two are doing really well, and seems like they're really happy, and we might be getting some eggs. Hi, girls. Your faces are very messy from that honeydew I gave you, huh? Who laid the egg? I think it was you, Hazel. I think it was you. All right, next update I wanted to give you all was an update on the center island. We are working on it. We're not filming everything that we're working on because I think some of it would be kind of boring. But Jason completely redid the drip irrigation. I'll have him show you what he did. And then we've been working on digging out the dry creek bed that's going right here. It's kind of tough because it's very, very solid soil. So we actually had two guys here helping us out a little bit. It's probably going to take us a while. I'm not planning on digging too far down. Like, I more want to build up the two sides rather than dig too far down, but I do want to get down to some natural soil and get a nice, what is this called? Concave? Yeah. Concave shape so that when we put the rocks in, it doesn't look like it's mounded up. And then the second thing that we've been working on, well, Jason has been working on, is the drip irrigation, right? Yes. So if you all remember, we had a cut flower garden here this past year, and we had lines of drip irrigation all the way across for the cut flower garden. And my plan was to just leave those lines in, but
that wasn't going to look good, and it was going to waste a bunch of water because we had tons of drippers that were just hooked into the half-inch line that was just running every time we ran it. Yeah. And that doesn't make a lot of sense to waste that much water. So we end up having like kind of quadrants or sections now because we have this creek bed going and then the path here. So basically what I ended up doing is just reconfiguring it so that we have over here, you can kind of see there's some extra tubing there, but basically we have a circle here. I have another circle here. Yeah, another circle over here because the creek bed's going to run up this way. So that's kind of a section. This is kind of a section. And then I haven't done it yet, but we'll also have another one, a line running along the creek bed here, meeting up over there, and that'll make basically a third circle. So we'll have these sections, and then the other thing that does is because we have this creek bed here, I only have to cross the creek bed once down here, and that's the only place we have to dig down and trench out to go underneath the creek bed, as opposed to having all of these lines running across that we have to dig down a whole bunch of times or worry about covering it or digging around it and all that. So now we have to worry about just one trench.
So how are we going to dig it down underneath the dry creek bed?
Yeah, I want to put a piece of hard PVC pipe there, and there's also actually it crosses on the pathway over there. And so each time it goes underneath, I'm going to run a length of hard PVC That way there's no chance of it crushing.
Right.
And there's no chance of even like the metal edging poking it if we didn't dig down deep enough, because we made that mistake one time.
So we did that over here and we did that over here. When we passed underneath the decomposed granite pathway, we didn't put PVC pipe.
Yeah, and we didn't put PVC pipe and or didn't dig down deep enough so that it ended up, rubbing on the edging and put a little hole in it. And that was a pain to fix, so I don't want to make that mistake again.
So anytime we're running the drip irrigation underneath a structure, whether it's the dry creek bed or whether it's the decomposed granite pathway, pretty much everywhere in the garden, we're going to be doing a really big PVC pipe that we're going to trench down. And then that way, if we ever need to replace the tubing or change it, we have kind of like a thoroughfare underneath the structure. So the center island is coming along. Again, we weren't even supposed to start this until January, but we're just kind of getting a head start, I think because we're both really excited about doing it. So we have the big projects kind of planned out and spaced out over the next couple months just for budgeting, just to make sure that we're not spending all of our money at once and then we're in trouble in February or March or something like that. So the very first thing we're going to be working on officially is the propane tank.
Oh, yes.
Propane tank. More details on that later. Now, as for today, what I want to get planted is I want to get my October blooming garden in the ground. I was at the garden center the other day and I found the coolest, the most beautiful plant that actually a lot of you have recommended that I plant in my garden. And I think it was a fabulous recommendation. I just hadn't seen one for a while. And then I saw it at the garden center and I am in love. And here it is right here. This is called Leonotis leonaris, otherwise known as lion's tail. I think it's also known as lion's ear as well, but I've always heard it called lion's tail. It is just so cool. How appropriate for an October blooming garden. So for those of you who don't know, this whole year I've been focusing on a plant or a collection of plants that have been blooming for that particular month, so that next year when we come through, I'll know I have something blooming every single month. And so I started in February and I'm going to go all the way till January, and this is my October plant and I'm so excited about it. Look at how beautiful it is. So this plant, lion's tail, it's actually from South Africa. It really likes kind of enriched soil, so I'm definitely going to add some compost, top dress with some compost. It's actually an evergreen, which I think is so cool because it doesn't really look like it would be, but it is. And when you crush the leaves, it does have like a little scent to it. It gets about 4 to 6 feet tall and 4 to 6 feet wide. So one of the coolest things about this plant is how quickly it grows. It gets up to 4 to 6 feet tall in one growing season. So it can grow to full height in one growing season. So it's hardy zones 8 through 11. So it's going to be hardy for me. It's going to overwinter. It's going to be evergreen, and it's going to bloom every single year. But for those of you who live in cooler zones, zone 7 and below, don't write this plant off. It is actually a really good option to use as an annual, and that is because it grows so quickly. If you plant it in the spring after your last frost, it will grow to full size and bloom by late summer, fall, and you'll have these beautiful fall blooms, fall interests to enjoy. The other really cool thing about this plant is a fabulous option for a winter conservatory plant or bringing into your greenhouse. So this plant will actually bloom during the winter in your greenhouse, protected in your greenhouse, which is, I'm always looking for good plants like that because I love having some life in my greenhouse. And this is a really, really great option for those of you where it's not hardy. So bring this into your greenhouse and you can enjoy these beautiful blooms in the dead of winter when nothing else is blooming, which I think is just really, really cool. Okay, so let me get this plant in the ground. It should be pretty easy, and I already know exactly where I want it to go. Right here in my center island, right next to the rising sun redbud. I think that will be pretty. I think it's gonna get big enough and it's gonna be bright enough that you can kind of see it from the road or from the other side of the dry creek bed. I just think it's the perfect spot for it. So let me get the auger and I will plant it real quick. right, and done. So we are going to water this in, and then we'll hook it up to drip. I'll probably put a 1 gallon per hour emitter on. We do run our drip irrigation pretty much all through the winter, but during the winter, during our rainy season, we will decrease it to about, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. And then if it's really rainy, then we'll just skip. We use the Ratio system, which I'm in love with. It's worth every single penny, you guys, because if it rains, you just pull up your phone and you skip it. And you can actually even set up a program where it will skip the watering if it rains. So for those of you who live in dry areas, it is definitely worth it. So this is the 9th blooming garden that I've done out of 12. And a lot of you have asked me to put up a list of the ones that I've planted. So starting in February, I did a purple lilac vine. Gorgeous. And then also some hellebores. I did plant some lupin, but the gophers got those. So those are no longer with us. Then in March, I did African daisy and azalea. In April, I did homestead verbena. May, I did a honeysuckle, and I wanted to do Halls japonica, but I ended up going with pink lemonade, which I think is beautiful as well. June, I did a combination of shrubs. I did a Miss Molly Buddleia, a plumbago, and then also a white pillar rose of Sharon. July, I planted underneath my black walnut tree. I planted a pink crystal grass and the SS rainbow coneflower that's doing beautifully. August, I did skyscraper pink salvia and some gorgeous lantana. September, I went with a pugster amethyst butterfly bush, and really August, September, October, I could have done butterfly bushes in any one of those months because they're beautiful this time of year. And then finally, October, I've got this lion's tail. So I want to encourage all of you to think about plants that will be blooming throughout your gardening season. Even if you live in a really cool environment, cold environment, try and find something, even if it's some conifers that just give you some winter interest. It's really fun to really put the effort in to find something that is going to be blooming for you all season long. So we're coming up to the end of our season, but we're starting to think about next year. So come January, think about what you can plant in your garden that might be blooming, maybe even something in a pot that you can put in your greenhouse or you can put by a bright window inside. Just something that you can plan for the whole year so that you have blooms or interest all season long, which is really the point of this exercise, is to put some time and effort and energy into thinking about what you're going to be planting and what's going to give you year-long interest. Now, in May, June, April, it's really easy. Everything's blooming. It doesn't matter. But once you get to this time of year, October, November, December, it gets a little bit more tough, and you really have to put some time and effort and energy into thinking about it. But I have to say, it's definitely worth it. So hopefully you guys can start putting your thinking caps on and think about what would be good in your garden every month of the year. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today. Where this is not a hardy plant for you, it's actually a really good, sorry, hello Monty. Watch out, bud. Do you need some love? You know I can't get anything done with you around, right? Overwintering in a greenhouse. Monty, you're killing me.